I'll be joining Godrej Consumer Products as a manager sales. My role will be to primarily manage the different sales channels and basically go around areas, understand markets as to what's happening in each market, and probably a product specific role or an area specific role which I'll get to know once I join. So at the moment, right now, based on the clarity that I've got, it's manager sales and I'll be joining in June. In terms of nervousness, I would say I was slightly less on a very low quotient because we knew what was happening, and thanks to my work experience, because that gave me a head start, I would say. I've attended interviews in the past, I've shifted jobs, I've been there, worked for a few years. In terms of nervousness, it was less, but in terms of preparations, yes, we went through all the marketing basics, the theory parts as to BCG matrix or Porter's 5 forces. All the basics of marketing was already there, but it's more about live examples and reading newspapers, relating what happens with the theory, and I think that's what made me less nervous during the interviews. The placement process was for Godrej was very simple. It's just 2 rounds. The first round was a GD round. The GD was entirely based on a case study. The case was very, very realistic, and it's basically they keep you as different roles in an organization. They put forward a problem, and together you just need to come to a consensus as to what each person has to do. So it clearly defines you as a group member there, and that's how you're being judged also. So I don't know the exact parameters based on what they judge, but it was a very well thought through and a very different GD case study than the conventional ones where you're given a topic and then the whole group discusses and comes to a consensus. So this is a very, very different process that I had an experience with. The case study was about a live business problem that any organization faces. Each person was given different roles. There were different roles mentioned in the case study. So each one has to come up with what each person in the role has to do. So it was both like a role play and like a case study as well. I don't remember any particularly challenging question per se, but the whole interview was challenging, I would say, because my personal opinion and what really happened was the interview was more of a conversation that they wanted to have. It was not really an interview question answer types. I had an interview with a business person and a HR head. So both of them together questioned me whenever I spoke about myself. So it all starts with telling them about yourself, and then it starts with what's marketing, what's the difference between marketing and sales, why marketing, and so basically the entire interview revolved around what I felt about each thought process, about each section in my resume, about what's happening in the outside world, what's happening in the business, why Godrej, about their culture, how I am a fit, etc., etc. So it was a complete circle, right from testing you on a technical front, and they tested adaptability as well. So one thing that was basically tested was persistence and consistency with answers, how adaptable you are, and how justified you are in doing sales for an organization that's growing in a very big pace. Yeah, I did try and pose a few questions to them about their growth in the Asian market, about African market, about what's their future plans, and they want to go 10 times in 10 years. So it's they then and it's we now. So we want to grow 10 times in 10 years. So what are we really doing, and what different are we doing, and etc., etc. So a few business questions, and then about the roles that they've offered in the past. So they have a very beautifully designed website which has videos in the that the candidates are actually talking about. So it's pretty clear, but we wanted to hear from the horse's mouth as to how they really decide on what role to give to each and things like that. So just basically a 5 to 10 minute conversation at the end of the interview. I'm really not an advice person, But okay, to all my friends or juniors or whoever it is, the logic is very simple, and I believe in this. I would ask you to be yourself at the end of the day. That's what organizations test. If you are yourself at the end of the day, and you're calm and composed, everybody studies marketing, everybody studies basics, everybody studies their stream, and technically everybody is strong. But what differentiates us from the others is entirely the individual that you are in those 10 minutes or 20 minutes that your interview is or your GD is. So you just have to go project yourself in a way that the organization is really looking forward to having. That would be based on your past experiences with the organization, what you've read in the newspapers, etc., etc. So if you're yourself, you shouldn't really be worried if the organization rejects you also, because that's when there is a mismatch between what they want and what you are, and we should be happy about that. On the contrary, if you're yourself and you get selected, that's the best place that you can work going forward. So be yourself, touch upon the basics, and be very calm and composed. Everybody is going to get placed at the end of the day. We can never be defined with numbers and CTCs at the end of the day. We just should take whatever role that we get, and we should move on, and the corporate world is entirely new for me also to see. So hopefully everybody will do well. All the best.